Hello everyone, my name is Braden, this is Airless Cool 9, and in today's video, we are going to talk about the Banshee, the Wailing Harbinger of Death in Dungeons & Dragons. Banshees are an interesting creature. They can be found in any habitat, and the treasures that are most likely found on their person or in their vicinity are relics, which is a table that can be rolled on in the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide. Here's what the 2024 Monster Manual has to say about the Banshee. Heralds of doom and plagues on the living, Banshees are spirits obsessed by unresolved bitterness or sorrow. These storied phantoms slay any who glimpse them or hear their baleful wails. Although any tormented soul can arise as a banshee, some elven communities particularly fear them and believe that those who hoard or destroy beauty, natural or otherwise, risk returning as a banshee. All manner of torments might give rise to a banshee. However, the Monster Manual provides us with a handy table called Banshee Sorrows, which helps the Dungeon Master determine what torment compels a banshee. This table has 6 options available on it, which you can determine by rolling a d6 or choosing the option that you like best. The options presented here are that the torment compels the banshee to appear prior to a family member's death, haunt the site where it was executed, lament a lost love and haunt their grave, presage a disaster or tragedy, seek the return of a stolen treasure, or slay those more beautiful than it was in life. The Banshee has seen a number of interesting changes that we will discuss today. So let's get into the full stat block. The Banshee is a medium undead with a chaotic evil alignment. They have an armor class of 12, hit points of 54, a speed of 5 feet and a fly speed of 40 feet, and it can hover. It has an initiative of +2. For its ability scores, the Banshee has a strength of 1, a dexterity of 14, a constitution of 10, an intelligence of 12, a wisdom of 11, and a charisma of 17. The Banshee is proficient in wisdom saving throws and has seemingly lost its proficiency in charisma saving throws, which it used to have. For its resistances, the Banshee is resistant to acid, bludgeoning, fire, lightning, piercing, slashing, and thunder damage, which is quite an array of damage resistances. As for its immunities, the Banshee is immune to cold, necrotic, and poison damage, as well as the charmed, exhaustion, frightened, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, prone, and restrained conditions. For its senses, the Banshee has dark vision of 60 feet and a passive perception of 10. For its languages, it speaks Common and Elvish, and the Banshee is a challenge rating 4 creature with experience points of 1100 and a proficiency bonus of +2. Now, the most interesting change on the resistances side is that the Banshee used to be resistant to non-magical attacks that were bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing. This has now changed to just a solid resistance against these damage types. So this is a much more potent resistance for the Banshee in particular. Also, as an interesting side note, the Banshee has seemingly lost 1 hit die, so it used to have 58 hit points. It now has 54, which is not too much of a decrease, but I feel like the extra resistances will certainly help its defenses. For its traits, the Banshee has retained both the Detect Life and the Incorporeal Movement traits. Detect Life allows the Banshee to magically sense the direction of creatures up to 1 mile away that aren't constructs or undead. And Incorporeal Movement says that the Banshee can move through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. The Banshee, of course, takes 1d10 force damage if it ends its turn inside of an object. Finally, for its actions, these have seen a couple changes. Most notably, the Banshee now has a multi-attack, allowing it to make 2 corrupting touch attacks and allowing it to use Horrify. Corrupting Touch is a melee attack roll with a +5 to hit and a reach of 5 feet, and on a hit, it deals 1d8 plus 3 necrotic damage. Horrify is a wisdom saving throw with a DC of 13, and it targets one creature the Banshee can see within 60 feet that it can see, or that can see the Banshee, rather. On a failure, the target has the frightened condition until the start of the Banshee's next turn. And on a success, the target becomes immune to the Banshee's Horrify for 24 hours. Finally, the Banshee has Deathly Wail, which it can use once per day, which allows the Banshee to release a mournful wail as long as it isn't in sunlight. On a Constitution saving throw, DC of 13, each creature within 30 feet can hear the wail and isn't, as long as it isn't a construct or an undead. On a failure, if the target has 25 hit points or fewer, it drops to 0 hit points. Otherwise, the target takes 3d6 psychic damage. Now, the Actions tab has seen a number of changes here. Corrupting Touch used to be 3d6 plus 2 necrotic damage. This has changed significantly here. Mostly because the damage has been reduced to 1d8 plus 3, which means the Banshee is now using Charisma as its main attacking ability score, which has also increased its plus to hit. Corrupting Touch, since it deals less damage, reduced to 7 average damage, that's why they've added in this multi-attack, allowing it to make 2 of these attacks, rather. So, on average, it's actually dealing 14 damage, which is slightly higher than the previous average of 12, which is nice to see. The multi-attack is also allowing it to use this Horrify ability, which is great because beforehand, you were really pressed into not using the old Banshee's Horrifying Visage action because it prevented you from dealing any damage on your particular turn. So having that now be a part of a multi-attack is much better, at least in terms of action economy for the Banshee itself. Also, I like the changes to Deathly Wail. It was previously called Wail in the 2014 stat block. I feel like Deathly Wail is a lot more evocative of what this particular action does. And it's very interesting that the Banshee can't use this wail while it is in sunlight. I did not realize that on the previous stat block. So that's really interesting side note. Also, I really like the change to Deathly Wail because the failure has been changed to be a lot more interesting here. It used to be that if you failed this saving throw that you would just immediately drop to 0 hit points on a failure. Now that they've added in that the target needs to have 25 hit points or fewer, that really means that the Banshee is going to have to do its multi-attack option at least a few times before resorting to this option in particular. I also like that in this failure option, that the target takes psychic damage if it does not meet that requirement. So that means that if the Banshee is using this particularly just to drop one creature that you know is going to drop the Banshee on its next turn. If it gets a turn, then this is a great option for you to reduce that target to 0 hit points, and then all other targets that don't meet that requirement are going to take psychic damage. It's just a really nice change here that I think works a lot nicer than the old whale did. So yeah, those are the changes to the Banshee. I feel like there are a few major improvements here. That multi-attack really helps the combat potential of the Banshee, and I really do like the improvements to the whale, or the deathly whale feature rather. It's just some really nice changes overall to this creature, and I'm definitely looking forward to using this version at least a little bit more often in my games, since it's not as scary as the old version of the Banshee, at least in terms of what its deathly wail does. There's some limitations on it, which is nice to see, but it still fits that particular deathly experience as long as you're using the Banshee to its strengths, which is nice as a dungeon master to have to do. But that is going to be it for this video. Thank you all for watching. I greatly appreciate your support. If you like Banshees or just enjoyed this video, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more content from me, please subscribe to the channel as I'm building my subscriber base. And I appreciate any and all of you who would like to subscribe to my channel. Greatly appreciate your support. In the next video, we are actually going to take a look at barbed devils. So keep an eye out for video, because there are some changes to barbed devils that we are going to talk about. Until then, thank you all for watching. I appreciate your support, and I'll catch you all in the next video. See you later.